Let's talk about some tips for Wuthering Waves. So the first thing I want to talk about is meta. So I've seen a lot of people talking about meta. I've seen tier lists, videos about it, and they obviously all have really good intentions and trying to educate people on the best stuff. But I wanted to kind of reiterate, I like to do this at the very beginning of gacha games, especially because there's an influx of new gacha game players, that meta is not the end all be all for something like Wuthering Waves, because a lot of it relies heavily on mechanics of your resonators as well as your bosses. So understanding your characters and your teams and your kits and stuff like that is usually way more important than having a 5-star. And I will say the 5-stars are more like kind of kit friendly. So basically a lot of their kits are very easy to understand, whereas like the 4-stars are very powerful in the fact that they have more complex kits. And so the more that you start to understand about the 4-stars and start to work on them, the better that they can kind of get. Plus you can get way more dupes typically because you have more chance of getting them because they have a higher rarity chance of being able to get it from the actual convene, whereas 5-stars it's going to be kind of hard to get your dupes and stuff like that. Of course they'll escalate a lot more if you get a dupe of a 5-star, but it's not the end all be all. So if you like to play meta, totally up to you, do it, grind it. But I wanted to kind of talk to people who didn't really like to do it, maybe feel a little overwhelmed. Maybe they see Verena and everyone's like, get her, and you're like, oh, okay, I'll get her. I really recommend just getting a character you like to see and just kind of like to look at, or maybe you like their character model, or like maybe you like the way that they play, or like you've seen some different things with their weapons. Like Danjin, for example, is a really cool character because as she progresses with her dupe, she gets really, really strong. And if you understand her mechanically, she is very complex, but she does a good amount of damage. I would say she's more like a sub DPS and a like kind of a swap off, but she can actually do a massive amount of damage if played right. And she has more of a complex kit, but if you get more dupes of her, and she obviously becomes way better. Plus, if you get a couple of different weapons and stuff like that, you can eventually play her very, very well. So it's just one of those things, like you don't ever have to get like the shiny object if you don't really want it. Definitely do what you want. The next one's going to be premium currencies. So I kind of like to talk about this too, because a lot of people are coming in. There's a lot of different currencies. So Astrite's going to be your premium currency. This is like, hey, this is what converts into everything else. You want to make sure you're keeping a hold of this until like your premium banners. So first and foremost, it's going to be pretty like appealing, or kind of like attempting to do it on your beginner choice convene. So this is you get to select whoever you want. You have to do 80 pity. You don't necessarily have to go to 80 pity. You can get them at like 10, 20, 30. But 80 is going to be the max pity that you have to go to before you get the character. And you may be like, hey, I want to spend my Astrite to get Lustrous Tie, which is the standard banner, and I want to be able to go in there and just get them. I understand that, but you can get these rather passively, and you can start to kind of, not have to worry too much about spending Astrite on them as you progress. So this Lustrous Tie, which is your standard banner stuff, eventually this guy will be gone once you get him. It goes on to the standard banner. This will be here forever, so you don't have to worry about ever missing out on this stuff. And it's a very passive thing. There's a couple of different ways you can get this through the battle pass. Some of the different rewards are currently given for like logins and stuff like that, or not logins, but like different union levels and stuff like that will also give them. So it's very passive stuff that happens over time. This one's going to be your 5-star selector weapon. So these aren't really tied to any specific character. They're not a signature weapon, but there are weapons that help you out whenever obviously you get in a 5-star. So you want to kind of research which weapon you want based on the character you want, obviously, but these use your standard banner. This last one is just currently here because we have pretty much a selector ticket that allows you to select whatever unit you want and go straight into your mail, which is super nice. If you're watching this video, 358 days from now, make sure you claim this because at that point it'll be almost gone. Now, talking about the main thing. So this is your premium banner. This is your rate up. This is what you want to do, because something like GN, for example, this is going to be the highest rate up he's going to have. And eventually, if he ever does go onto like the standard banner or something like that, he's going to be conjoined with these guys. So now you got to worry about all 3 or 4 of these guys. And then on top of that, he's not going to have his rate up anymore. So this is like the best chance to get him. Plus he's shiny new and all that different stuff. So this is going to be your radiant tie. This is your premium stuff. You can use your Astrite for it as well. And then if you get him, also you can get your 4-star resonators here. So what I was talking about with meta and stuff like that, you can get a dupe of Danjin and be able to kind of help her out and stuff like that, because she's also on a rate up. So no, typically it'll be like new characters and stuff like here. I think they'll have like new 4-star characters and then the new 5-star characters and stuff like that. We'll have to kind of see who they do. But yeah, this is typically this. Whenever you actually get the character, there is a chance that you might want to go for the signature weapon. I do recommend kind of looking for this, especially if you're not going total meta and you want to kind of work on maybe like a 4-star weapon or something like that. Again, because 4-star weapons, you can get a couple different dupes. You can probably get a decent amount of damage. But if you're going for this signature weapon, it's Fortune Tide. Typically, this is kind of assigned to like the rate up character. So this is GN's weapon. It's going to give him some different things. Obviously going to do a good amount of damage and stuff like that. There's 4-star weapon rate ups here as well. So if you get pretty lucky on your GN, you can go for the weapon. Now, if you're going through all of this and you've done a huge summon session, you can go into your shop and you can start to look at stuff like this. So these corals here, the Afterglow corals, are for 5-stars. So you get like a certain amount of them for just getting a 5-star, but you also get a certain amount more if you get a dupe of that 5-star. So you get GM for the first time, you get a certain amount of Afterglow coral. And then if you get a dupe of them, you get a little bit more for it. So I don't recommend ever using this for anything other than Radiant Tide. and then the next best thing being Forging Tide. So if you're really trying to go for the signature weapon and you're just not quite there because it's 100% banner on the, or 100% pity on the weapon banner, and you're like, I don't know, 70 or something like that, and you really want to be able to get it, then maybe you should do it this, but do not use this on standard banner stuff. This does not make sense and it's not going to help you. Just don't do it. There's another thing you can technically use these on, which are dupes. So if you want to go for dupes of the characters, you can technically save these up, but it would be quite a grind. Now they are something that kind of carries over time, so you can hold on to them. So if you do end up getting a lot of 5 stars, you can see you can get all kinds of different characters. I don't really recommend doing it for the 4-star characters, at least not the ones that are on here currently. But yeah, pretty much the most time you want to use it for the polls, or you want to try to get a dupe if you can. Some of these, like GN is here for a limited amount of time. You can see his refresh, or like he's going to be gone. Yinlin's going to be here, and then you can see all these other characters you can also get. So these guys are going to be there. You can get 2, so you can get 2 dupes with this, but it's going to take quite a bit. So this next one is going to be for your 4 stars. So anytime you get a 4-star dupe, and again, it's going to have the same thing. If you get a 4-star, you get a certain amount of these. If you get a dupe, you get an even higher amount. And usually these have the Radiant Tide and the Illustrious Tide. I just happen to get them. I always recommend grabbing these if you have the currency to do it. Just grab all 3 because they do expire at the 37 days. And so they kind of reset basically. So you want to make sure to grab them. And then once they're in your little, you know, up here, they won't expire. They'll just kind of hang out. So you want to make sure to grab them from them. You can get 7 or 6 of them and you can grab them. So this is the Forging Tide for your signature weapon, but they'll have the Radiant and the Illustrious as well. You just grab them because this is more of a more forgiving currency. So if you do want to go for like your current like beginner banner thing to try to get your 5-star guarantee, I would recommend at this point trying to pull the banner illustrious things from this like currency here. This is kind of a nice thing to do. Now, of course, you won't be able to do it for another 37 days, but this banner is going to stay here until then. So again, that's kind of a passive way to do it. It doesn't really cost you too much because you're going to get a lot of 5 or 4 stars. So the next thing I want to talk about is just kind of some of the menu stuff. I'm not going to go over everything, but we got event, which is something I wanted to talk about. So this is currently what's going on with the beginner stuff. Every single day you log in, you'll get certain things. You can see Illustrious Tide here. You can see Radiant Tide here for day 6 and 7. You go out San Juan. She's going to be a really cool ass character. So you'll get her for free. Yeah, Echo Hunter stuff. So this is like event stuff. You can go through here and do events. Depths of Elysium Realm. This actually doesn't open up until Union level 17. You can see you can get echoes, all kinds of different stuff. Now, this is what you kind of want to check out if you're a brand new gacha player, because usually a lot of games have this where you can test out the premium banner character and see what they look like. So this is just their tutorial. So you can kind of go through here, and you can also do the 4 stars as well if you kind of want to go through here and get some different rewards. You can do that, but this one gives Astrite, and it gives you like pretty much everything you can think of. It gives you the signature weapon and all the different things you can, like max level basically. You get to see them at their prime and see if you want to pull on them. This one, I don't know if it's going to be for every single character. I don't know if every single random character is going to have their own story to it, but GN currently does have his own story. You have to unlock it at chapter 1, act 6. You get Union level Astrite and stuff like that. So yeah, once you're able to do that, you can do it. I think you can do it even without having the character. I'm not 100% sure because I'm not there yet. This is going to be something that's currently happening for beginner stuff. Obviously at level 45 Union level, it's going to be gone, but you can see all kinds of different Illustrious Tide, which again, this is another reason why I wouldn't spin Astrite, because you just have a ton of it. And then this one's pretty much like doing everything else, right? So anything that you do here, Tower of Adversity is another like little in-game thing that I haven't quite unlocked yet, but you can see that you get some different things for doing that. So super easy to understand. The next thing I want to talk about is going to be your battle pass. So there's going to be a version of this most likely always going on. And it's just like consume this, do this, drive through here, do all that. So you just want to kind of pay attention to what it's asking you to do, because a lot of them are stuff you're probably already going to do. And maybe you just haven't, like absorb 3 echoes. Okay, well, I'm going to do that today. Right. So you have like daily, you have weekly, and you have seasonal. Seasonal is kind of like the one and done. Like it's not going to happen. It's not going to refresh. Your weekly stuff refreshes every week, and your morning stuff refreshes every single day. And then you can see like if you do just like the main thing, like you don't spend any money, you get Illustrious Tide every single 10. And then if you want to spend a little bit of money, you can get Radiant Tide, and you also get both. Okay, so if you spend the money, you do get both lines, or both like lanes, I guess, basically. So you'll get your Illustrious and your Radiant Tide each and every time you do it. I'm not sure how much it is. It might be like, I don't know, $13 or something, then I imagine. It's $10. Okay, so it's $10 if you want to do it. Well, at least in my country, USD. So, and then to convene, that's the Seminole Wool stuff. Resonators team. Obviously, those are those. Data bank's another thing I'm going to talk more in depth here in a minute about. So I'm not going to go too much about this because I'm going to be talking about it for echoes. Then you got your guidebook. So your guidebook is going to be your daily stuff. So every single time, I think this opens up at Union level 7 or 8, and you can get these daily quests. So basically you go through here, and again, just like your little battle pass, you go through here and you just do things every single day. Tune in Echo, upgrade Echo level 1, and then or once anyway, and then you go through here and you get Union, you get Astrite. This is every single day. It refreshes. It'll tell you up at the top where it refreshes. Yeah, milestones is like a one and done. This is pretty cool because it gives you database experience, but again, once this is gone, it's gone. It also gives you an echo. So the interesting thing is, if this is an echo that you don't have, you can actually get the experience for it as well, because it'll actually prompt the spot that it needs, which we'll talk about a little bit more with the echo stuff. But again, one and done, 100. You get some mats and you get 100 union level. Super cool. This is going to be the simulation stuff. So if you have not checked out my union level video, make sure to do that, because it's going to go over all this stuff. Talk about all the different bosses and what you should be doing and who you should be doing, all that different stuff for union level. But this is like a little collection for it to kind of see where you're going and who you need to fight and all that different stuff. This one's going to be skill training. So this is going to go through pretty much the tutorials of any character you currently have. Basic training is about the game. So dodge, outro, intro, all the different stuff. A good little basic mechanics if you don't understand anything about Wuthering Waves and you never played it. The echo hunting thing, we'll talk more about this little menu, but basically this is for kind of the drops that you get for materials and stuff like that, but also to check out where unknown echoes are. You can get an idea where they're at. So with that being said, you got trophies. This is like a one and done type of thing. As you exploration, story, all that different stuff. You can get Astrite as you continue. So again, Astrite's going to be kind of prominent at the beginning, but once you taper off, it's not going to be so prominent. You're going to have to kind of wait. You got maps, utilities, and stuff like that. But that's kind of the main ones I wanted to talk about. So let's talk about echoes though, right? So data bank. I'm going to try to make this as simple as possible. Maybe I'll make a video that's in depth about this. Let me know if you want it. So this is kind of like anything else. You get EXP for catching echoes. Each time that you get certain amount of XP, it will increase the cap though. So like, I think these two are like level 30, and so on and so forth. And eventually I think I'm at level 5. So it's 120 and then eventually get to whatever. But the big thing to note is that it gives these. So these will actually give you max stamina by 10 points. And that's like end game stamina, like your wall climbing, your running, all that different stuff. This is what that 10 points is for. So it's not like your wave plates. It's actually for anything else you do in the game. So it's pretty nice, especially once you get to a certain point of like exploration and you want to kind of go through bigger mountains and stuff like that. It will help out quite a bit. Now, the big thing to note though is this bottom left here. So base drop rate, enhanced drop rate, and highest drop rarity, and your cost limit. So your cost limit is associated with each echo has like an association of costs. And so basically you can only have so many echoes of a certain cost on your team that equal up to 10. This will eventually go up, but the highest rarity drop is really what you want to pay attention to. So at level 4, you can only get 2 stars. Once you get to level 5, you can now get a 30% chance to get 3 stars. Then this will kind of go up as you progress. So level 6, you get 50-50. Level 7, you get 80%, so on and so forth. And then at level 8, you can get 4 stars. And now that 2 stars completely gone, you get 3 stars and so on and so forth. Now, level 15, I think is when you get your 5 stars. So this is like end game stuff, right? So once you get to the 5-star stuff, this is when you're going to start grinding for end game. Now, this takes a little bit of time to actually go up. So you can see it's at 30%, and I think it takes until level 17 to be able to get to 50. And again, this is going to be like this max for EXP is going to start going up quite a bit, and it's going to take a minute to get it. So now you're wondering, how do I actually get it? Now, this is a little bit more of a, I wouldn't say complex, but it's a little bit nuanced, right? So the thing is, you want to capture echoes, right? That makes sense. But you want to be very strategic on how you do it. So I'm going to use this wolf as an example. He's a pretty boy, but if I get him at level 2 or rarity 2, that's a green. A rarity 3 is blue, and 4 is purple, and 5 is gold. So basically that's our color correspondence. But if I get him at rarity 2, right? If I get a green one for the first time ever, I will get a 10 EXP. That's great. But if I keep getting the greens, I will not keep getting the EXP. Okay, so I will only get the EXP again at level rarity 3, and then rarity 4 and rarity 5. So basically what you want to do is you want to kind of go through there and go through the list of getting all the common ones, all the green that you can get, and you get all the EXP for it, and then you go back through and get all your blues, you get your EXP for it, and then so on and so forth. So eventually though, you might be wondering, okay, why don't I get like bosses and stuff like that? So you will eventually want to get the bosses and stuff, because obviously it applies to them too. And if you don't have a certain one that you know about, you can just click it, track it, and it'll take you to this menu, which is super cool. And then you can go to like the ones you don't know, or like, for example, just do this one. You go to detect. Boom. Okay, this guy. Nice. Now I know where he's at, and I can go grab him. So I don't have him at all, right? So I don't even know who he is technically, but I can go grab him. So the thing that I recommend though is trying to go for your commons. Do not worry about the humans. They don't drop echoes, so they're just going to sit here. They drop mats. They drop different stuff that you may need for different things, like ascend resonators and stuff like that. So eventually you will want to grind them out, but don't grab them for echoes because they're not going to drop anything. So you kind of want to go through your commons. Now I do recommend doing these bosses, which are all the way at the top. These bosses, I would do like a one and done type of thing. If I can find, which one's crownless? I don't know. You can do these as a one and done thing, because the first time at clear wards, you get 500 union points for each one that you do. But you kind of want to try to hold off on these, because first off, they take wave plate. So you kind of want to pay attention to that. But once you drop the echo, you want to make sure you're trying to do it at the highest rarity and the highest data bank that you have. So like, obviously the higher you go, the more 4 stars and 5 stars and stuff you get. And so it's more of like a more of efficiency type of thing, that you don't necessarily want to try to grind these guys out too much, because you're going to be doing it quite a bit, and you want to make sure you're trying to do it at the most percent that you can. Now, does that mean you have to wait all the way until level 18 to start grinding them? No, you can kind of do them like even 4-star ones. Like a 4-star crownless is still going to be good, right? So it's not going to be like total ass. Eventually you'll have to go back through and try to do your 5-stars and stuff like that too. But yeah, you can kind of do it once you get to, I would say probably like 4 stars. The 4 and 3 exchange would be pretty nice to get some early level like bosses and stuff like that. But yeah, you just kind of want to do it in a way that kind of makes sense and you don't have to do too much backtracking. That's kind of what I want to say about the Echo. So let me know if you want that more in depth and stuff. We can definitely make a video about it. So the next one's going to be story. So a lot of you guys probably don't care about the story, and once it gave you freedom, you're like, I'm gone. But the story actually has a lot of different things. It gives you quite a bit of Union EXP, which is going to help out your account quite a bit. You're going to be able to unlock a ton of different things. And it just helps out with your rover as well. It gives them a wave ban every single like major kind of big thing that happens. So you can get dupes of him. You can also get like different things for breakthroughs and mats and stuff like that. So you want to make sure you're doing these, especially like some of the bigger ones. The side quests, they seem small, but they stack up quite a bit and they're pretty easy to do. So you can get 150 rather quickly. Plus they give Astrite, and Astrite's really nice to have. So as you kind of progress through them, you're going to be able to get tons of different stuff. And it's just going to help progress your account. So do not sleep on the story. Don't sleep on the different missions and stuff like that. Make sure to do those as you're progressing, because it's just going to help you out. Whether you're a story enjoyer or not, you can now skip like 90% of it very quickly. So just go ahead and grind it out. As a little tangent to that one, make sure to explore different areas that you're currently in. So what I like to do is every single time a mission takes me somewhere I haven't been before, I do like a little search party type of radius, right? I'll kind of just go out and do the different puzzles. I'll do the different like, you know, chests. I'll fight some of the different echoes, especially if there's ones I don't have. And I'll just kind of go out and I'll just kind of just sweep the area. Sometimes I get a little lost, but if you make sure to get your beacons and stuff like that, you'll be able to kind of teleport back as like little checkpoints. So yeah, I like to kind of go off in little sweeping motions. I think it helps out progressively. As you're passively going through different things, you're able to kind of like grab different chests and puzzles and stuff like that. So you don't have to go back and backtrack. I know a lot of you guys are kind of want to like beeline it straight to the story and just kind of get it over with, but try to like explore a little bit, because a lot of that different stuff is going to help you out quite a bit, which leads me into the next one, and that is gathering everything. Make sure to gather as much as you can, flowers, or I don't care if it's a bee on the, you know, side of the road, man, grab whatever you can, because it's going to help you out eventually. Either it's going to be ascension materials, it's going to be like crafting materials. You can actually do weapons with the ore. You can do revive stuff with some of the different or like the different ingredient stuff. You can actually do cooking with the different ingredients, which gives you buffs. So it's just really important to be able to have ascension materials for your different characters. Now, eventually you get to a point where you do have to go out and grind it, because maybe it's like a rare material that you only found once or twice or whatever, and you have to do it for an ascension. But yeah, it's really just one of those things that progressively help you as you move on, just to grab, just press F on everything, at least on the keyboard. You just go and just press as much as you can and collect as much as you can. Kill all the ore that you can, because it's super easy to do, especially if you're using Rover, because he has AoE. But yeah, it's just one of those things that you want to make sure you're always doing. And then with that being said, get your caskets. So those little like glowing yellow boxes, grab those, because you can actually exchange those in a shop in the city to get a lot of different mats and rewards. Especially at the very beginning, it gives you 2 lustrous tides for the first 2 levels, and then it goes into a lot of different mats you could use. So it's really kind of cool to be able to grab all those, because they're exploration first off. So most of them are like kind of in unique spots. So it's kind of fun to be able to go up there and grab them and do different things. But then whenever you go back into town, you can kind of cash out and get a lot of different materials, which is super nice to be able to do, especially because it's kind of like a passive thing anyway. The very last thing is going to be beacons and your nexus. So the nexus is basically going to open up different sections of the world and open up your map. You're going to be able to see a lot of different things. The beacons are kind of like checkpoints. They're all for fast travel. You can do fast travel for your nexus. You can also heal your characters at your nexus. So it's really important to have it, especially if you're going into a brand new area. You do not want to end up like having to like teleport somewhere else, or not being able to teleport anywhere because you didn't grab any of your beacons or your nexuses. So the first thing that I like to do is when I'm in a new little area, I like to run straight to a beacon or a nexus to be able to grab it so I can open up that little area. So I'm able to kind of like explore and see everything on my mini map, which will help you out with like, you know, all the different things you can do with your puzzles and your caskets and stuff like that, because they actually show up on your mini map. So it's just one of those things you really want to do. And again, it's just kind of a passive thing as you're kind of grinding. Every time you go to a new area, you're exploring, you're getting your caskets, and you're getting your materials and grabbing your nexus. So that's basically it. Hopefully you guys found some value in this one, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a good rest of your night, guys. Peace.